What's up, everyone? We are going to be talking about marijuana and the effects on the brain. And I bet you guys are wondering where Psy is at. And we actually don't know.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in weeks. Joe's a smart guy. We should.
Joe's a great guy. You want to bring him in?
Let's bring him in.
I think we should bring in Joe.
All right, Joe.
All right, Joe. Wait, Joe, can you get back in the shot?
If heaven is anywhere, it's in a blue Tacoma, California. White magnolia in your head.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 2 of PsychBoi. Here with your host, Psych Mike, and co-host, G-Minor.
Pleasure as always.
And I bet you guys are wondering where Psy is at. And we actually don't know.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in weeks.
No, he's in Alaska, right?
I believe so.
Visiting the fam. He really wanted to be here, but, he's off doing that.
I think he might actually be out smoking weed. There's no way to disprove that.
That's a great segue into tonight's topic. We are going to be talking about marijuana and the effects on the brain. But that guy Psya, though, I've never seen anyone more excited about Tinder in my life. Okay, so...
He was really into Tinder.
Right? The last episode, you guys probably saw it. If not, check it out. Episode 1.5. And we had a great discussion about Tinder.
It was fabulous.
But that whole thing was supposed to be unscripted. And literally seconds before we're about to start shooting, Psya pulls out this giant stack of index cards like this big. And we were just like, okay. You just let him do it. And he did a good job. He did a really good job.
Life is better unscripted.
I agree. Let me look at my notes really quick. We'll edit this part out. Psych Mike likes dykes. Why did I write that? All right, so as we said, we're going to be talking about pot and the effects on the brain. And our guest today is another econ PhD. He grew up in Switzerland. He lived in England for a while, so he has a lot of experience.
He's lived in Thailand, too.
In Thailand?
Yeah,
Wow.
He's lived everywhere. And the United States.
He's lived everywhere?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
You should say I'm a professor, though.
Three continents.
He's lived on 3 continents. Why don't we just make it 7? Screw it. This man's God. Yeah, so he has a lot of experience in different countries. And so we want to talk to him a little bit about his experiences, not personally with marijuana, but of maybe his friends. And
or just the effect on society in general, right?
Yeah,
Is
because
it benefiting society?
yeah, I think a lot of these countries that he's been to have different policies on it. Like Switzerland, I think it's pretty much a parking ticket,
basically legal
for minimal possession. And England, I think it's virtually legal. And here in the United States, it's virtually legal if you're white. So, right?
I mean, there's
Safe
no.
to say.
If you look at the arrest data, tell me that's not true.
Yeah, go look at it, folks.
And Thailand, they apparently give you the death penalty.
Hearkening stuff.
Is that what I heard? I don't know.
I heard that too.
It's pretty strict. Is the word on the street. Joe's a smart guy. We should.
Joe's a great guy. You want to bring him in?
Let's bring him in.
I think we should bring in Joe.
All right, Joe.
All right, Joe. He's coding as we speak.
What's up?
Get in the shot, buddy. Great to meet you again.
Good to see you.
Good to re-meet you.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah. As always. So, Joe, I want to talk to you about marijuana.
My pleasure. Let me get a brownie first, though.
Oh, right. I forgot to say that when I mentioned that the episode was going to be about marijuana, G-Minor proposed that he bake us a bunch of brownies. And they look delicious, by the way.
They're quite good brownies.
Yeah, they're good, right?
Awesome.
Oh, I'm like spilling crumbs everywhere.
It's fine.
So good. Okay. Excuse me, I'm just going to dump that.
Yeah, please do.
Okay. So, Joe, I heard you were born in Switzerland and
That's
you
right,
moved
yeah.
around a little bit. You went to the London School of Economics. Tell us a little bit about how you ended up there and how you ended up here now in America.
It's a good question. I just always felt like there's much more out there than like my hometown, and we only have one life. We should see as much as we can. So that's how
YOLO.
Yeah, that's it. So that's how I got around, went to live in the UK, went to live in Asia, a couple of different countries, and now I'm here.
What is the different the different policies in those countries on marijuana?
So I would say that like Europe in general is a lot more laid back than say the US or Asia.
Yeah.
I think in Asia it's the other extreme actually. Like most Asian countries have super strict drug laws in the sense that like I think if you smoke pot in Singapore you're gonna get the death penalty.
G-Minor, you make the
Can you
weirdest
imagine
facial
that?
expressions when you eat brownies. Really, in Thailand you get the wow. I feel like I'm so close to you right now. Like this is really
I have to
awkward.
fit into the shot, right?
I know. It's a weird shot.
You just have too broad shoulders.
I'm too big,
Yeah,
honestly.
you're too
I've been
big,
working
yeah.
out a lot since episode 1, and you
Yeah.
guys can tell, obviously. Let me give you a quick flex. All right. Yeah.
So wait, they give you the death penalty for smoking weed.
Yeah. That's what,
What about eating weed?
We can find out. I don't know.
well, that was a good brownie.
Yeah.
Mm.
Do you think that these policies, you say in Asia it's more strict. Do you think it actually causes people to smoke less marijuana, or do you think people just ignore the law and do what they want to do?
I guess it can prevent some people, but in general, I still know, I think I know a lot more people who smoke weed in Asia than in the US. Maybe
Really?
that's just maybe that's just me, but I don't think that it has a super strong effect.
Do you think that's it's a cultural thing there, or just
I mean, I
What
can
caused
just speak about my experience in Thailand, which is basically that there's a lot of corruption, and basically, even though officially smoking pot is illegal, once you get caught, you just pay off the cops and it's fine. So, I don't think in practice it's really a big deal.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. It sounds like the cops have all the power in that situation.
Oh yeah.
Like, they can be the difference between you getting a warning and a life sentence in certain places.
I guess at the extreme, that's true. Yeah.
Hashtag not all cops are bad. Right, guys?
right?
That was a resounding yes. So I was doing a little bit of research on Quora, great site, and I was reading about this one study called the Dunedin, I don't know how you say it, but it was a study done in New Zealand in the 1970s, early 1980s, and it was a longitudinal study. They tracked people from birth to 30 years old, and they wanted to test the effects of marijuana on the brain, right?
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, and so they did it, and they had this result that, on average, regular users of marijuana, the IQ points dropped 8 points
Wow.
from the time they started using. But now that we're looking back on the study, people are noticing it had some flaws, right? They didn't account for things like socioeconomic status. A lot of the people who were using the drugs were probably dropping out of school.
Mm-hmm.
They probably had a bad living environment, generally. That's usually how it goes with those things. So, but it's funny because that study now has led to the myth that pot it kills brain cells. It makes us stupider. And it's just crazy how that is based off of like a faulty study from the 1970s. But if you look at the research now, it looks like it's mostly pot does not cause permanent damage to our brains.
Does it cause temporary damage?
I have heard temporary. I mean, all the studies vary, but I have heard in adults it can cause temporary damage, but it's nothing that can't be recovered once you get off of the drug. So I want to ask you, Joe, your experience with friends or people you've seen. Do you think it has an effect on the brain?
I would say temporarily, definitely yes. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that it affects your ability to think, right? It affects your reaction. That's also why it's illegal to smoke weed and drive, for example, right?
Wait,
So-
that's illegal?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's like it's worse than drunk driving. Yeah.
These are
So-
good brownies.
So yeah, I do think it definitely has an effect. Whether it has a permanent effect, I'm not sure because I don't actually know anyone who, smoked weed for a long time regularly and then quit. So the people that I know, I would say most of the ones who are regular consumers, they never quit. They still smoke, and I do think that it has an effect on their brain. Yeah.
Right. It seems like most people who smoke wouldn't have a reason to quit unless they're getting drug tested, for example, here in the United States.
Yeah.
And you told me earlier that they don't even do drug tests in other countries. In
Yeah,
Europe.
I think in Europe it's not a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, which
Like,
is news to
privacy
me.
laws are pretty strict and stuff. So it's basically the
Did you know that?
attitude. The attitude is that it's like, you know, it's everyone's own business. You know, it's not for the employer to know what you do in your free time as long as it doesn't affect your work or something
Mhm.
like that.
Yes, definitely.
So I think that they have a different attitude than in the US, I would say.
Oh, so good.
Do you have an opinion whether the European system of privacy or the United States system where the employer can learn about the employee's habits? Do you think there's a benefit to that, or do you think the European system is better allowing for privacy?
It's a good question. I mean, I can see both perspectives. I do think that you know, the employer has some control over you while you're at work, right? Like, you know, they're paying you, so they can expect some things from you. So
They want to make sure you're not going to go get arrested.
yeah,
in
sure.
prison,
Or it
right?
can be like it can be a hazard, right? Like, you know, if you
If you're
work on
smoking
a
at work.
construction site and you fall off the ladder because you're high, I guess it's not in anyone's interest, right?
Yeah, unless you had a life insurance policy on the person who fell off, then it would be in your best interest.
On the other hand, I feel like, you know, what you do in your spare time, as long as it doesn't affect your work life, it shouldn't be your business's business, if we can say that.
So earlier we were talking about how the new research says there's no long-term effects on the brain. Do you think there are long-term effects through other channels? Say, I started smoking weed in high school. Because of that, I chose to drop out of high school. This was a long-term effect. I chose not to go to university and college.
Ooh, this is good. I'm gonna have another
Do
brownie.
you think there are long-term effects that go through other channels that we need to consider?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds pretty reasonable, yeah.
Yeah. And do you think that's a case we should consider when deciding upon, you know, the legality of marijuana, or maybe an age limit? Do you think we should say you have to be 21 to smoke marijuana and make it legal for that?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that would make that big a difference, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, you know, people are gonna smoke anyway. They're gonna smoke pot anyway. And, you know, even if maybe some kids, they might actually try it because it's illegal, right? Because, you know, it's adventurous. You wanna.
I mean, the drinking age doesn't stop.
Yeah, you
anyone
wanna impress
who
your
wants to
friends or
drink.
something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So I'm not sure if that really helps.
All right, we're gonna talk more about that in a second, but first, I just want to jump to a quick intermission. So this is gonna lead us to a segment that I like to call Mike's funny phone videos of the week, and it's just a funny video that I took on my phone this week.
All right.
So this video, right? I was in Rosemont recently, a lot of clubs there. I just walked into some random club and I saw this. We had like no clue what that was. Turned out to be a lap dance competition, right? I was at Six Flags too. I had a busy weekend actually.
Wow.
I saw this puddle shaped exactly like a penis. If you guys want to see it,
That's a penis.
right? Like
That's a penis.
looks like Trump's
Looks
penis
a bit
actually,
like
right?
Trump's penis. I was about to
Doesn't
say,
it?
man.
That's exactly how
Doesn't
Stormy
it?
Daniels described it.
You guys be the judge. Let us know.
Smaller than average, but not ferociously small.
Yeah. No, funny story actually about Six Flags, right? So I was, my cousin rented out the park, right? And so it was like no lines hardly. So I rode, have you ever been to Six Flags?
Wait, he rented out the
I have
whole
not.
park.
The whole park.
For how many people?
For like this giant company. So there were still like
I see.
thousands of people, but the lines weren't really lines.
Right.
So like I rode this big roller coaster Goliath like 10 times in a row without getting out of my seat. And so it's like 5 minutes to closing, right? I'm at this awesome ride called Raging Bull, and we're about to take off. And you know the guy who like does your like harness thing? He just says, all of a sudden, he goes, "Hey guys, by the way, it's Nick's," and he points to the operator guy. He's like, "It's Nick's 15th birthday." And so we're all about to head out, like the ride's about to start. And I pass by him, and I'm like, yo, Nick, puberty's gonna be a bitch. And then the ride starts. And so then we get back, and then there's like 3 minutes, right? There's like a little bit of time left. We could go again, and everyone's like, one more time. And Nick's just like, nope. And everyone stared at me. Like I had done something wrong.
Well, yeah.
That sucks.
Well, I
Pissed off the operator.
I did do something wrong. Well, so
That's pretty funny though.
I didn't get to ride Raging Bull for the 11th time, but
Oh man.
we want to let you know that we are doing a challenge. The combined likes between this and Psych Mike Does Tinder, I am going to do that many push-ups on the next episode of PsychBoi.
Oh wow. I know what I'm doing tomorrow.
You're liking it. You're making
yeah.
lots of fake accounts and liking both videos. Yeah, that's smart.
Better get ready.
I feel like I had one more announcement. Poll of the week. What is your favorite movie? Let us know in the comments. Ooh, I need another brownie.
Oh man, you're hungry.
Do you want a brownie?
I'm good.
You've been quiet on the brownies. He said he's good, So we were starting to talk about ages and alcohol, and those were actually some of the questions I had. Now, the studies, like I said, they don't affect adults, but they've shown that early marijuana use before the age of 18, which is the arbitrary line that we've decided to make it to be an adult,
Right.
does affect people long term. And it makes sense, right? Because your brain's still growing.
Yeah.
You're disrupting the neuronal connections. And so what do you said earlier you don't think an age limit would help, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
You don't think it would help because people will ignore it?
Yeah,
Or-
possibly, yeah. So I'm not sure if it doesn't help. I don't think that an age limit is necessarily a bad idea, but I'm just saying it's not like enough. It's not going to keep people from drinking underage
Yeah, no, I would agree because everyone has fakes now.
or something like that.
Like every kid in college is drinking.
Yeah.
So I would agree with that. But do you think they should still try to do it just as a matter of principle? Like, we understand this is bad for kids. Like,
Just to send a message, maybe.
Yeah, I think
Exactly.
so, yeah.
that you care about the youth.
Yeah, I guess they should be consistent with their policy on alcohol, right? I guess.
Yeah. Well, so I've heard that your brain doesn't stop developing until you're like 24. So maybe make it 24 years old. I don't know. All you public officials out there that watch PsychBoi, make it happen. Alcohol is arguably more harmful, right? But that's illegal. Not
What?
completely. Wait, did I say illegal?
Yeah.
Illegal. I meant legal. For 21-year-olds and up.
So you think alcohol is more harmful than marijuana?
No, I mean, that's an argument, right? I mean, I looked it up. 80,000 people die from alcohol-related deaths a year in the United States.
From drunk driving, mostly.
Combined. It's mostly drunk driving, yeah.
Okay.
But that's a lot more than pot, I would assume.
But we were saying that
A lot
smoking
more.
and driving is worse.
Yeah, I think so.
It's just people don't.
I guess it's
do
just
that.
There's
like
no
a
way
lot
it's
more people.
worse.
A lot more people drink than they smoke weed, right?
So you think weed could be worse if more people did it?
I guess so.
I don't know.
But, I mean, we'll have self-driving cars in,
Fair
what,
enough.
2
I
years?
guess you can't like smoke yourself to death, right? Like you can drink yourself to death.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
You never like
I think
black
also-
out.
So one argument that I hear a lot is that like people who who drink, they tend to get aggressive and they get into fights or something, or they can hurt themselves. Whereas if you smoke weed, it just fall asleep on the sofa, don't really hurt anyone, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the big issue
Domestic
people
abuse.
have with it, is that it turns us all into zombies and we're not productive.
Yeah.
But with alcohol, you're talking about actually going out, doing stupid stuff where you hurt yourself, you hurt other people,
Right.
sometimes leads to death.
Marijuana might even make violent crime go down.
It might. I'm sure there's
People
statistics
are
out there.
sitting at home on their couch smoking weed and not out raping people.
Fair enough.
I'm
yeah.
sure there's stats out there. And this is not a professional show, so obviously we don't
There's
actually care about what we're saying.
There's
Like, it's
actually
factual,
some
but-
evidence of this kind of thing, that violent movies can make violent crime go down. Because people who commit violent crimes also like watching violent movies. So
Oh,
they're watching the movie, not committing
Wow,
crimes.
that's interesting.
That's deep, man.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
called the
that's pretty deep.
incapacitation effect.
Wow, I gotta write that down.
Next
with my
time
brownie
you're like
crumbs.
playing video games and someone gives you a hard time about it, talk about how it's keeping you from going to a bar and getting hammered or something. You're saving money. You're not getting drunk.
Sounds reasonable.
Well, I'm never playing Mario Kart again.
Well, that's for a separate issue.
Based on what we said, why do you think that alcohol is legal and marijuana is not? Based on the fact that it may be more harmful.
So I guess it's like alcohol has a much longer history than marijuana, at least in like the Western civilization. I would say, you know, like you can make alcohol from pretty much anything. Like
Yo, come in the shop, bro.
like, you know, cavemen 50 million years ago, they got hammered already, right? Like, you know, just to
With what, rocks?
get a couple of apples and let them rot for a while, and you get drunk off that. So, you know,
Hard
alcohol has
cider.
been it's been part of our culture
Renowned
forever, right? Like monks invented beer like 1,000 years ago, right?
Really?
Yeah, because it was
So
cleaner
that's
than
what they're
water.
doing in the monasteries.
Oh, absolutely.
That's
I mean,
where,
this
like-
used to be true. Monks were the biggest alcoholics ever, like from today's perspective.
Who knew?
And it's because, like, you know, alcohol is a lot cleaner than water, because back then hygiene wasn't so good. They didn't have the water filters or whatever. So they would drink beer not to get food poisoning, right?
I heard that.
So alcohol has been around forever. And so I feel like, you know, it's part of our culture. People think it's a regular thing to do. There's nothing shameful about it, as long as, you know, keep it in a certain moderation, and
Drink
which
in
is
moderation.
not true. Drink in moderation, drink responsibly, which I guess is not true for marijuana, for example, in Europe, because it's not a native plant, so it hasn't been around for that long. People haven't, you know, not everyone has like grown up with it. It's just not part of our society in the same way. But, you know, maybe that will change in the future. Who knows?
Alcohol was actually used as the main anesthetic when doctors would perform surgeries back in the day,
Oh, that makes sense.
before they had actual anesthetics.
Yeah, it's like every action movie, right? Where they take a bottle of whiskey and like put it on their wounds or something. You know, get a gunshot. First thing they do is to, like, drink half of the whiskey and put the other thing on the wound.
We don't watch movies.
Oh, I see.
That's why we did the poll.
Oh, I see. Okay.
We don't ever do that.
All right.
But
I
Anyway, they
like
do
your
it.
comment, Joe. I appreciate your words of
I
wisdom.
appreciate you
They do that. They do
and the
that.
comment.
I'm happy to be here.
Thank you.
We're happy to have you here. I'm
Thank you.
actually really sad I have to watch you leave in a second.
Oh no!
I didn't mean watch you
already.
leave.
Wow.
I hate to see you go, but I'd love to watch you leave. One final question, and I almost don't want to ask it because I don't know if you know, but in the first episode of PsychBoi, G-Minor was our guest, and I asked him what he was working on in his PhD program, and he gave some totally incomprehensible answer that no one in the universe could interpret, and so like I don't want that to happen again. But at the same time, you seem like a really like chill dude, so I'm gonna take the risk. So Joe, what are you working on in your PhD program?
Yeah, I don't think I want to bore anyone with that. I don't think anyone cares.
Okay, so you have enough insight to say, okay, this is boring as
Oh,
shit.
yeah.
I'm not gonna share it.
I'm in for the money, dude. That's it.
All right, well, just tell us something.
I'm in it
fun
for the
then.
girls. It's all about the girls and the money.
I should visit you in your office sometime.
All right, Joe, it's been a pleasure, man. I'm gonna let you get back to coding because you've been coding here.
All right.
I think you're coding telepathically, right?
Oh yeah.
Like while you're doing the podcast. All right, he's a really smart guy. Joe, thank you so much for coming
Good
on,
to
buddy.
see you. Good to
You
see
as
you.
well, you
Yeah.
as
Good
well.
luck with your show.
You as well. Thank you. You can get out of the shot now.
All right.
We don't need you anymore. All right, guys.
So he was cool.
Yeah, he was a cool.
He seemed like a more down-to-earth economist compared to some other economists who have been on the show.
I don't know who you could be talking about, folks. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode of PsychBoi. I don't even know if I said PsychBoi at the beginning.
This is episode 2.
This is episode dos for all our Spanish viewers out there. And how do you say it in French? Dua?
Yeah.
Dua.
Dude.
And do you know any other languages, Joe, that we can
French is the.
connect with?
Zwei.
Right?
Zwei is
Zwei.
Or
German.
is they?
Dva is Ukrainian and Russian.
Episode duh.
All right.
Yeah, so next week we are hoping to have episode 3 up. And remember to check out Psych Mike Does Tinder. And remember to comment, like, and subscribe for all our future content. And I think we're getting t-shirts soon, right?
Yeah.
We are, folks. Anyways, stay tuned. We will see you next week.
California, white magnolia in your hair, razor gold shining on.
Dude.
Yeah.
Another successful recording of PsychBoi.
Dude, man, I wonder if you died, would you go to your own funeral as a ghost?
Oh, yeah, dude. That would be so cool. And then you could, like, read the tombstone, except, like, you don't have eyes. So, like, would you even be reading anything at all?
I'm gonna get my tombstone in Braille. That way, even if you don't have eyes, you can read what's on it.
Dude, that's so smart. Ah, sick, bro. Yo, these brownies were delish, man. Dude, you want to watch Pineapple Express again?
Again?
Again. Cool.